It's ding ding, two men in a ring. We put pride in your stride and a quiver in your liver. You want 'em, we've got 'em, coming to you. Loud and proud, he's the biggest, he's the baddest. It's Mr. Gavin Davis on the Gavin Davis Podcast Show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Gavin Davis Podcast with me and my co-host, Mr. Dave Bruff. Tonight's guest is another classic, absolutely out of this world. So honored to have him on the podcast. He's originally from Sweden, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He is one of the top grappling competitors of his generation. A yoga enthusiast. He has gone on in competition to win the IBJJF 2010 Worlds, the IBJJF Europeans 2011, IBJJF 2014 bronze medalist at the Worlds, and IBJJF 2015 European bronze medalist. Mr. Yoga BJJ himself, Mr. Sebastian Brosche. Sebastian, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, mate. So I just want to thank you for making contact with us the other week. I've been really looking into your competition stuff and all your matches and everything, and really, I want to talk a lot about it during the podcast. But what I want to do just to start, I just want you to give us a brief introduction on your martial arts journey, how you got involved in martial arts and specifically BJJ, and who you were under and how you got your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and who that was under as well, please, for the viewers at home.
Sure. My first martial arts experience, I was 7, and my mom did a hip toss on me. She was a judo yellow belt. She did judo for a couple of years when she was young, and then she did a hip toss on me, and I thought it was so cool that my mom could basically throw me. So I really wanted to try that, and luckily there was I lived in an extremely small village, and they had a judo academy there it was maybe 20 years old, the academy, when I started, and they had an amazing kids trainer. Like, she was great with the kids. So I got into judo, and I just stayed there. And I started skateboarding. So the combination between judo and skateboarding gave me a lot of break fall practice and also really good balance and cardio. And now at almost 40, I can out cardio almost anybody I train with. Even the young guns, they don't last for like 15 rounds, whereas I have no problem at all. So I'm really, really, really blessed to have gotten into a sport early and never quit. I think I outlasted 3 generations of people. I trained for 32 years. So like the average enthusiast stays for 10 years in judo, wrestling, or jiu-jitsu, or be it what else. So I'm like almost started my 4th life, so to speak, in martial arts. And I went to judo college, and after 16 years of judo, basically just training really hard without structure or a plan or any. I trained gym for a while regularly, and then I started having really good results. And then I moved to Hungary, and I kind of just trained really hard and got injured with the herniated discs for like 6 years on and off. So that kind of put a stop, breaking my wheels, like a stick in my wheels on my judo professional career. I wanted to become professional in judo, but without a coach or without a plan or with back pain, that didn't work. And then I kind of slipped into a jiu-jitsu training, and it was just like going from from a really posh party into, a underground rave. It's like, what the hell is this? It's kind of the same thing I've been doing, but no holds barred, just crazy, like no rules. There's literally no rules in this sport. Like in judo, you can't grip like this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And then in jiu-jitsu, like basically anything goes. I'm like, hallelujah. Yeah. And after doing like jiu-jitsu at 2 or 3 gyms, like 3 or 4 sessions at different gyms, I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I've had enough of judo, let's do this instead. And within a week of starting to train jiu-jitsu regularly, I downloaded all the piracy DVDs I could find back then. I didn't have any money. And I saw Marcelo Garcia's, he made a ton of DVDs before he started MG in Action. and just the amount of technique available and the combinations just blew my mind completely. And something even more low-hanging fruit was like, I remember when they said half guard. This is half guard and this is an underhook. And I'm like, really? These things have names? In judo, we just call them, this position where you have his leg between your legs. So
Yeah.
you didn't really attach enough. You didn't give the things enough credit because it didn't have a name. So just that, I just wanted to learn everything. I just went absolutely super deep into jiu-jitsu. And then an old black belt friend in judo who did really well in judo, he did a switch and he won the worlds in purple belt.
Right.
Michael Murphy. And he was a really good friend of mine, and he was like a big brother who were taking care of me. And he was obviously doing really well. And I'm like, well, if he can, maybe I can't. Maybe I should compete in the worlds. And I went there in 2008 as a blue belt, and I won 3 fights, and I lost either the round of 8 or the quarterfinals. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I was so pissed off for 5 minutes because my ego was hurt. And then like everything just released, and I just felt incredible joy because I realized that I had found what I was looking for like 16 years in judo, like really good companionship, really tough training, but still low key and relaxed, and not so constrained as judo was. So that was basically the start of my new life. And from
What
there
year?
on,
What
yeah.
year was that, Sebastian? What year did you start your jiu-jitsu?
I started in 2007, I would say, and I got my
Right.
blue belt in 2008, and then I went to the Worlds. And from there on, it was just nonstop, just going home, working with my dad, making tax-free money for 3 months, like cutting firewood, cutting down trees and selling firewood, and then just living off of that money and training nonstop. And then I went to Norway and found a gym that was really nice, and the people there were really cool, and the level was really high. I got my ass kicked. Which was not too common then, even though as a blue belt, I was basically killing almost everybody except the really big MMA guys because of my judo background. And then I got my ass kicked, and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm moving. And then within 7 months, I got my purple belt, and I went to the Worlds and took the double gold.
Yeah.
And after that, I met my girlfriend and wife, and she got me into yoga because I was really wrecked after the Worlds. My body was in pieces. And then I took almost a year break from jiu-jitsu and just doing yoga, and I came back, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be tough to come back after such a long hiatus. But I was again killing everybody because I unlocked my true potential with flexibility, mobility, body control, balance, awareness, breath, all of these things that I hadn't considered just got improved by 30-40%.
Yeah.
And then it was obvious because my wife was a really good like she knew how to think business wise, and she's like, well, how many people are training jiu-jitsu in the world? 1 million people, 2 million, and everybody needs this. Can you find it? I googled and I found something called Yoga for Fighters, and it was basically almost an inactive website. And I'm like, okay, so there is one guy who has done something like it, but nobody can find it, nobody can subscribe, nobody has made a proper website. I'm like, well, that's an opportunity. And I asked my wife, but I don't know shit. She's like, yeah, you know more than them. So, so you can teach them. And I'm like, fair enough, fair enough. So I have 1 year of yoga experience, so I'm going to start making my own website and teaching, which I'm really happy that I did, because now in August, I've been doing this for 10 years. And thousands of people have come through and tried out the classes. And I'm not saying this to brag. It's not an opinion. It's empirical evidence. When I have a young guy with autism that can super easily follow my class, and I have a middle-aged legally blind woman from America who can do the same class and follow the class online without even seeing the screen, I know that I'm doing really well. So I'm really happy to be touching so many different fates and lives around the world with what I do. And I'm super happy to have my wife and Adam on the team as well. He's from the UK, a really successful black belt from Andy Roberts, and
Yeah.
he's a fully educated yoga teacher, and he's doing his thing, and I really enjoy the thing we're building.
Yeah, good. So when did you get your black belt and who did you get it off, mate?
Eduardo Rios is my coach. He's from Brazil. He
Yeah.
was running Brazilian top team when he was age 21, which was basically unheard of back then. And then he moved to Norway. He's a sexual refugee in Norway. he
Right.
met a Norwegian woman and he moved there. Yeah, he gave me my black belt in 2016, I think.
Okay. Okay. What's your competition highlights off the top of your head? Competition highlights. Obviously
Beating
winning the
beating
worlds.
yeah, winning the worlds, but beating
Yeah.
Kit Dale was fun. He was a really cool guy back then, even when he was a purple belt.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And yeah, winning the Europeans in purple belt after I won the worlds was fun because I was down by 6 points and I just outgassed that Finnish guy so hard that he gave me the Kimura. He just gave me Kimura.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, here's the Kimura. Oh no, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a Darce choke, but he was so tired that he just gave it to me without thinking.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, okay, I don't actually have to learn to submit guys. I just have to out cardio them so that they almost throw up, and then anything goes. So that's basically my strategy now. Is just gassing them out for as hard as I can, and then doing whatever I want.
I never trained with Kit Dale, but I trained with Lachlan Giles, and I remember seeing a clip the other day, and Lachlan was saying to Craig Jones that obviously Kit Dale was obviously who they went to for advice. Yeah, and he was a big name that a lot of people don't really think of as much today. So when did you compete against him?
2015 maybe.
Right. Okay.
I was a brown belt. Yeah, I was a brown belt.
Yeah.
Kit Dale is a good friend of mine. What was I going to say?
He was the first Australian jiu-jitsu star, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really talking about that. I have to tell you a story about me and a friend. We went all the way to Australia for a championship, and then we ended up fighting each other because there was no other guy in our category. So we just spent thousands of dollars and just came there to fight each other, basically.
Was it the Pan Pacific Open?
Yes.
Yeah, I fought that comp as well in Melbourne.
Really?
2016, I was there.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, I was there. What was his name? Oh, Andreas Brofanowski was there as well. There was a lot of big names there that year.
Yeah. How many fights did you get?
Two. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it wasn't great. But the big thing for me was that 2 weeks of spent training with Lachlan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we trained at Absolute with Lachlan.
Okay, actually, everything I said was a setup because one of your friends wrote me before the show, and he told me that story that you went there and you only had one fight with a friend. So he's like, you have to spook him out and tell him his own story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No, but Lachlan, I tell you a real story about Lachlan. I trained like that year when I think it was the year after in World Pro when after I beat Kit and I had my brown belt. I was getting beat up in the sparring area, and I'm like, oh, I need some small guy that I can kick his ass to get my confidence up. And then I picked Lachlan, and I had no idea who he was. And I'm like, why can't I pass this guy's guard? It's like he's a tiny little Australian, and I can't do anything with it. What's wrong? And then I figured out later that it was Lachlan.
But that comp was gi and no gi. So you must have had two fights.
Actually, it was all a lie. Like I tried to tell him your story. Your friend told me that this happened to you, and I tried.
Yeah. Okay. Right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring Dave in because I know Dave's got some questions for you, mate.
Sure.
Hey, Sebastian. I'd like to, if you could elaborate on your back injury, your herniated discs. Was there one thing that set that off, or was that just accumulation of injuries over time? And how did you recover from that? What was your therapy in terms of getting over that?
As far as I know, herniated discs come from bad posture and overly stressing your body with repeated stress and tension. And all hernias goes away by themselves when you stop the kind of onslaught that you're doing with either bad posture or hard training. So I had my herniated discs for on and off for years, and it was really bad at one point where I had back spasms and had to stay in bed for a day. And then I got really afraid because I was young and I didn't know what it was. And then when I asked the doctor, he's like, "Yeah, you need an operation. So yeah, you can't train." And I listened to him for a couple of months, and I didn't know what to do. And then I started training jiu-jitsu instead, and that helped because it wasn't as brutal to my body as judo was. But I worked in a kitchen when I was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and like after the worlds, I went really downhill in terms of back pain. And then just taking a break from jiu-jitsu helped, but also starting to do this dynamic kind of strength flexibility integrated yoga style that is, not just poses, but it's basically doing jiu-jitsu with your own body, free flowing, moving with control, strengthening my whole trunk muscles and stretching all the muscles that I didn't know I had. All of this, helped so much, not just for back pain, but for my shoulders, neck. My whole body was just getting upgraded. And I see it like jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, we do mostly sparring. The drilling and the warm-ups that we do in jiu-jitsu, or the stuff we do after training, none of that prepares us well for sparring or helps us recover afterwards. So we are only breaking the body down in jiu-jitsu. So we're not really professional athletes. Even people who train every day and win competitions, they're not professional athletes. If you had this approach in American football or tennis or soccer, they would just, no, you're an amateur. You have no idea what you're doing. This is how you structure training to win the Olympics. And we have a lot to learn, a long way to go in jiu-jitsu before we're there. And that's really my gambit. And what I'm really trying to change is stopping people from running in circles for warm-ups and actually do things that are good for you short term and long term.
So I guess so you recovered from the herniated disc, and you talk about yoga being part of that. So are there, when you're doing a jiu-jitsu session, I guess, is your warm-up an integrated yoga session, and then how does that fit into a kind of jiu-jitsu class?
That depends. Some jiu-jitsu gyms have no warm-up. Some jiu-jitsu gyms have 5 minutes of wrestling drills for warm-ups. And that fits some body types and some age groups. But if you're 35, 40 plus, you can't start a training with wrestling and expect not to get injured. I trained judo for many years, and in many gyms, they just do soccer for warm-ups. And I always got injured when I did that. So like I had a deep-rooted hate for bad warm-ups I started jiu-jitsu, and then when we started running in circles with belly in, belly out, high knees, I'm like, I'm so sick of this. I remember before I found yoga, I had one of these big medicine balls, not medicine balls, this big Pilates balls, and I was basically sitting on it and trying to keep my balance and rolling around and doing tricks on it. That was so much better than the normal jiu-jitsu warm-ups with push-ups and jumping jacks and burpees and stuff like that. So when I found yoga, I'm like, oh, this is a superpower in jiu-jitsu, because not only am I feeling great and gradually progressively getting more and more sweaty and into my body and out of my mind, it's also teaching me the movements that I'm doing in jiu-jitsu 10 minutes later. So my biggest opponent before yoga wasn't my opponent, but it was my own physical and mental limitations. And yoga just gradually moves you. It's always inside your comfort zone, but still it pushes the boundaries. You don't have to go outside your comfort zone to make them grow. Some people go so much outside their comfort zone that they never grow because they don't have time to recover. So with age and experience, I'm learning more and more that less is more and slow is fast. Slow is what is slow is smooth is
slow is
slow.
fast. Yeah.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Yeah.
So do you think there's something about jiu-jitsu then that makes it particularly compatible with yoga, or do you think this could be compatible with judo as well?
Judo and jiu-jitsu are
Yeah, not judo and jiu-jitsu, judo and yoga.
more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like for jiu-jitsu, yoga is the ultimate complement. It's the best warm-up and the best cool-down, and basically the best thing you can do on a day off when you want to recover and feel better. And everything in judo is the same as jiu-jitsu. It's just more intense. There is more grip fights and harder yanks on shoulders and elbows. Since it's, you know, since you stop the fight as soon as something it doesn't happen and you restart, then it's like wrestling. It's so much quicker and harder and fast paced. So I think all combat sports where you spar needs not running in circles, but and not static yoga with just stretching. It needs dynamic flowing yoga where you challenge yourself. Like 50% of the poses feel good and 50% of the poses feel challenging. I think that's the perfect complement for jiu-jitsu and yoga and judo.
Gav, I'll bring you back in here.
Yeah. So I want to discuss your diet because I read in your bio that you're plant-based.
Yeah.
So my wife, she's vegan, but she's always going on about going that extra step to be plant-based. Personally, I'm vegetarian. How do you find that's impacted on your performance? Yeah, go on, mate.
It's hard to say because I went vegan more or less the same time as I started yoga. So I never tried one without the other. And they kind of go together. I went to a really good yoga class many years ago, and the teacher, she was from the UK, and she said, like, doing a yoga class and taking care of your body and kind of being aware and cultivating your presence and awareness and all that, that's all well and good. But if you go out and you eat a burger afterwards, that's almost a psychotic behavior. And everybody was laughing, and she kind of justified it in a really, it made a lot of sense. Like when you really cultivate self-compassion and all these things, and then if you have like a complete, you know, you're killing your body with really bad quality food and you're killing someone else for it. It's like there is a huge, and since I was vegan when I heard it, it made an extreme lot of sense. But there is a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I don't want to discuss morality or if it's good or bad for the planet. I don't want to go into that.
Yeah.
But food is almost always an addiction. If you love chocolate, you love chocolate, but you might be addicted too. And if you love Smash, these salty, crunchy, chocolatey, sweetie things, those are designed by addiction specialists to make you eat the whole bag and buy another one. And that's true not only for that, but for many, many foods. And people are, science tells us, people are more addicted to food than drugs. You get more addicted to some types of food than you do cocaine, for example.
Yeah.
So the problem is not that plant-based is better or that, you know, a burger is bad, because a burger it's a lot better than starving if you're about to die, but it will never beat like a wholesome quinoa salad with tempeh, or like the burger will never compete and win on any metrics. So there is always there is nothing that is healthy per se. It's healthier than something else. And if you have to choose between a McDonald's and something else, then McDonald's will usually lose. But for like to compare the food to the yoga, the food should help you recover and so that you can train again sooner and feel better. Just like sleep. Some people sleep at night and they feel worse than when they went to sleep because sleep is not rejuvenating. So it's kind of toxic sleep. And if you have a really bad diet, everybody thinks they have a more or less okay or good diet. Everybody, even the people with the worst diet ever, thinks it's kind of okay. But the diet either helps you feel better or it keeps you back and keeps you sick.
Well, what I'll say about that is, I don't know in Scandinavia, but in the UK, we definitely got an obesity crisis. I don't know what it's like over your neck of the woods, but the amount of calories we're burning doing jiu-jitsu, how are you replacing them calories plant-based? You must be eating a lot.
That is kind of a brown belt level question, because most people are white belt with their 1 or 2 stripes when it comes to diet understanding, food understanding and nutrients, and they maybe heard of a B vitamin, but they have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a brown belt level thing, because it is much more difficult to get enough calories when you're completely plant-based, which is really good for you to get a longer life. If you're a little bit hungry all the time, you basically add 5 years to your life. And you get sick much less often. Like everybody who makes it over 100 years old, they have some kind of calorie restriction and regimen. So it's not dangerous to be a little bit hungry. But I tried just a few weeks ago, I tried to do like intermittent fasting for 1 day, and I got a high fever and I got so sick and it was so bad, because I usually don't get enough calories. And then I tried that. So I had no way of getting all the calories I needed within, 4 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
So I still have a long way to go and a lot to learn for sure.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed, Dave. I didn't give him a black belt question. It was only a brown belt one.
But the plus is most people give him a white belt with 2 stripe questions.
Yeah. So no, I understand quite a lot about it, as I say, because my missus is well into it and everything, but she wants to go that next step up to plant-based. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know about how in Scandinavia you cater for vegans. The UK's got better the last 5 years.
Yeah, I actually live in Spain. I lived in Norway for 13 years, and then we relocated to Spain, which is probably the best thing I've done since starting jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah. And here for sure, it's soda and pastries and lots of sugary calories.
Yeah.
And empty calories is lots of calories without much more nutrients in them than just the calories. And that's what I see. And tons of meat. There in just a normal grocery store where I do the shopping, they have maybe 200 hams just hanging, like prosciutto hams. And I think the human body is just as adaptable as any other creature, probably more, since we colonize the whole world, and we can adapt to anything and we can survive on anything. When we say our natural diet is meat based, absolutely, we can survive on meat, we can survive on fish, we can survive on fruit, but it's a completely different question what's normal and natural and what's optimal. And if we want to know what's optimal, we have to trust common sense combined with science, which is very hard to do. Those are two very counterintuitive things. I have one guru, and it's Dr. Greger from nutritionfacts.org, because they are like 20 people who is working without any influence, any money from certain types of food companies or and they're as objective as you can get. And that's where I get my information, because it's impossible if you're just lost in what should I eat, what shouldn't I eat. Everybody has conflicting interests, and it's so hard to figure out who to listen to.
Yeah, we had Chelsea Lyons from Texas on the podcast a while ago, and she said she eats what makes her feel good when she trains. That's how that's she's obviously great athlete, doesn't eat a lot of no junk food or anything like that, but a lot of fruit, a lot of good veg, stuff like that, and just to make her feel good,
Yeah, well, it's I wouldn't copy that strategy, because the same could be said for someone who just eats McDonald's. Like, it makes me feel good, so I eat McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't copy it straight off, because it depends on how good you are at feeling what's good for you. If you're addicted to heroin, you feel good taking heroin, and if you don't even know that you're addicted to bad food, then you have a problem still. So that's maybe a white belt approach, but she's lucky enough to be able to use such a simple approach, since she also have common sense and kind of can actually feel what her body is telling her, because it's crazy to see when you're eating really healthy and you see someone stuffing poison down their throat, and you can see that their body is almost like protesting against it. You see someone, maybe 50% overweight, they're so obese and they're stuffing something down and they're coughing while they're eating it, like, oh, you are killing yourself, and you're unaware of it, and you feel so sorry for them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just before I hand you back over to Dave, I've got a question for you. I watched your match at Polaris 9.
Yes.
Against Tommy Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always been quite flexible, even though but before you did yoga, or is your flexibility down to your yoga? Because when he had you in that triangle at the beginning, you had a real bad start to that match, and he caught you in a triangle, and he had that armbar. That armbar looked tight. You got out of it, but that looked really tight.
It was tight, but luckily my elbow was right on his crown jewels.
Right.
So he told me afterwards that it was hurting him like hell. And the elbow, nobody has inflexible elbows. Like, nobody has such a stiff biceps that they can't extend their arm fully. Nobody.
Yeah.
So nobody can basically improve their elbow flexibility. But the shoulders, the legs, the hips and back, that can be, that's where people really struggle.
Okay.
Some people have really inflexible soles of the feet because they have bad shoes, and they have really inflexible toes and they hurt the toes all the time. But mainly it's the shoulders, back and hips. That's where everybody struggles, because everybody has shitty posture.
Yeah.
Everybody trains too much jiu-jitsu without doing anything else. And that's really where yoga can help.
Yeah.
But that fight was actually a highlight of my career, because I did maybe 1,000% better than I thought I would, because Tommy is an absolute monster. Like, he must have a whole cocktail of mental disorders in order to be as good as he is. And so, he is a crazy MF. And he's a good friend of mine, so I know for sure that he's not on steroids.
Yeah.
Which I so much appreciate. When I see people winning without steroids, it's just, it warms my heart so much.
Yeah.
So he's one of, I'm a big fanboy of Tommy, and being able to, I was laughing when they pit me against him on Polaris. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, he's so high above my level, but I did pretty well.
No, I thought you did excellent, considering the start you had in that match. For you to get back into it, and I watched him against Gilbert Burns. He had a match against Gilbert Burns, so like, I thought you did really well getting back into that match. That could have been over very quickly, and that's why I wanted to ask you about your flexibility.
Yeah. I think but flexibility is not the best thing about yoga. The best thing about yoga is the breath, posture, body control, and awareness that you develop.
Okay.
And in a fight like that, just having of course, doing a lot of jiu-jitsu and competing a lot, nothing can beat that. But in conjunction with the self-development that you're doing when you're doing jiu-jitsu with yourself, which I call yoga for BJJ, it's 5% yoga, 95% BJJ when I do yoga for BJJ. But yeah, it definitely helps. But I didn't believe that I could beat Tommy. That's why I didn't pass his guard. His guard is much better than my passing, but if I don't try, I'm never going to do it. So I felt like he was applying his game because he was more confident, and that's the reason why most people don't get really good and win gold medals. It's not because their technique is not good enough. It's because they don't believe in themselves. And we all have someone who we just bow down and like, okay, you're better than me, and that's not a way to win. So
Yeah.
I hope I can get a rematch and that I can get my confidence up against Tommy one day, or someone else of his caliber.
Yeah. I had it with John Mafflin the other week. He absolutely demolished me, but that's a different story. Right, I'm going to pass you back over to Dave Bruff, mate.
Just want to pick up on one of the things you said earlier. You're almost 40 now, and your strategy is you out cardio your opponent. That's your game. You out cardio them, and then they give you something. Do you feel that that you've improved your cardio since you were younger, and how do you see that maintaining as you age further? Do you think that is there a strategy for maintaining cardio as you get older, or do you think your strategy is going to change?
It's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. But I had the same resting pulse a few years ago that I had when I was 18, which was I think 36 when I was sleeping. So I had the same level of VO2 max when I was 18 as one of the top athletes in Sweden in like triathlon or pentathlon or one of these Olympic sports. So I was like, whoa, I have that good VO2 max. And I don't train any cardio now. I have 3 boys. I had 3 kids under 3 years, twins, and a ton of animals. So I basically didn't train at all during COVID. And just now, a few months ago, I started training a little bit more regularly. And my children just started sleeping through the night. So I'm getting back into it now. But basically, my body in 4 or 5 sessions, I'm back at, top 95%, top 5% percentile of everybody in jiu-jitsu. So I'm really blessed with that. I never smoked or drank or did anything like that. And I think that really helped with my cardio as well. But yeah, cardio and strength training, like if you have good cardiovascular health and you lift heavy weights, then you're adding 10-15 years to your life. And if you add to that really healthy sleep and nutrients, then you can easily add 20% to your lifespan.
You don't think you don't see training adapting as you get older? You would train.
Sorry.
So as people get older, if you've got students in your class who are 50 years old, is the advice for them in terms of training techniques or methods the same as it would be for anyone else?
The older you get, the more intelligent you have to be. That's why a lot of old people are wise and intelligent, because otherwise they wouldn't have become old. And when you're young, you can afford to be stupid. I've heard that they say that youth is wasted on the young, and basically young people don't know what they have, so they just waste it and spoil it, and maybe don't train or do drugs or whatever it is that they're putting a stick in the wheel for themselves. But when you're 50 and doing BJJ, you have to be intelligent, otherwise you're gonna quit within a couple of years. So the intelligent things is to focus on the absolute fundamentals: hydration, nutrition, sleep, mobility, flexibility, controlling your own body, and then selecting a game where people can smash you. And usually it's half guard, right? But you have more options than just deep half guard. Just because you're 50 and you're a little bit heavier than everyone else doesn't mean you have to pull half guard. There are other things you can do. And for me, yoga is like the cure-all thing that unlocks your potential to do more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so when we look at an overall package to take jiu-jitsu forward, from what we've talked about the last 45 minutes, I would say plenty of good rest, plenty of sleep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good diet, good healthy diet, looking at being plant-based. Yoga, plenty of flexibility work. And then some strength and conditioning.
Yes.
Is there anything else that I've just missed there, which you would think that could take you an extra 10, 15 years with competition?
Nature, because jiu-jitsu is done indoors. So being outdoors and breathing fresh air, it can't be, you can't replace it with anything.
Yeah.
And this I base on a TED talk I heard about the blue zones. Because the people that live over 100, they usually have much better quality of life as well. And some of the things that was in all parts of the world was like they all eat beans or legumes, and they all walk in nature at least once a week. They all have calorie restriction. They all have good community. These things are really important. And in jiu-jitsu, we get so many of those for free. We get strength, we get conditioning, we get good community, but we don't necessarily get good sleep and good hydration and good food and good flexibility. So yeah.
Okay, mate. So Anything else, Dave, that we've missed on topics that we wanted to cover?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything we had, Gav.
Okay, so Sebastian, on the 17th of June, you're in Bournemouth, and on the 18th of June, you're at Andy Roberts BJJ. Just for the viewers, can you just briefly tell us what you're going to be doing on them seminars in the UK, mate?
Sure. Lately, as I'm coming back into jiu-jitsu, I really started appreciating Instagram and YouTube and the quality of technique that are out there, wrestling and jiu-jitsu combined. BJJ fanatics have a ton of DVDs, but also, just searching for arm drag on YouTube, I unlock things that I've been looking for 20 years and trying to figure out on my own. And like when someone has a rear hug on you, and you can cartwheel out of it and land in top side control, and someone says it in a really high level, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And just from watching YouTube and trying it myself, I'm like, yeah, this makes perfect. This fits into my 5 main techniques, and like this is amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm teaching. I'm trying it out in classes where I live in Malaga. Then I'm teaching seminars on it, and I'm kind of using the seminars as a test bed to see. I maybe try 10 different things. If 3 or 4 of them aren't really easy to understand, then I drop them and I replace them with something else. But the seminars I'm doing in Bournemouth, I think, is guard passing and Kimuras, the Kimura trap that I developed my own Kimura trap system.
Okay.
If I knew there was a Kimura trap system.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely doing guard passing and Kimuras.
How does it deviate from the original Kimura trap?
I don't know too much of the. I know David Evelyn. I've talked to him on Instagram, and he has a really tricky rig, so I can't really train right now. But as soon as I can, I would love to train with him. So when he's in Spain next time, I want to train with him and spend a couple of days with him.
Okay.
Because I think it's 90% overlap between the things we do and then just individual things. But I love Kimuras and I love the Kimura control, and also side control and pressure. Like I've heard that. People use position as submission as a position. So like omoplata submission is a position. But for me, it's the opposite. I use every position as a slow submission. So when I'm in side control, my goal is to submit you just by the pressure inside.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of success with it. Elbows in diaphragm, combined with the Dars, the Von Flu choke, the shoulder pressure on the throat, and then people sparring with me because they almost throw up and they tap just from the knee and belly pressure, because I'm using my flexibility and mobility and balance in a way that I can eat cake and have it too. So I can both have control without giving away base. So I can both have a good side control and put a knee and belly in the diaphragm, and it kills people. Before my game was really based on speed and switching between positions, but now it's more based on pinning the guy down in his center so that he can't really move left or right. He's just stuck in the middle, and he has a long way to go before he can start defending. So I love it, and people hate it when I do that in cycle, and that's what I love to teach at seminars, when I see just people screaming from the frustration that they can't go anywhere.
Well, I'm away this week doing jiu-jitsu with the RAF team, but I'm going to message Andy and I'm going to try and get down on the 18th of June because he's only an hour from me here, so I'm going to try and make that seminar because I'd love to train. I'd love to train with you, mate.
Yes. I have a really nasty staph infection that I had for almost 3 weeks, so I'm trying to go to the surgeon tomorrow and get it cut out. So hopefully I've recovered well enough to be able to spar.
Okay.
I can train when I'm on antibiotics and I'm not contagious. Then I can instruct, but I really hope to be able to spar in the seminar.
That'll be from the heat and the humidity in Malaga.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna shower when I come home. I have to stress home to the kids, and that was a bad choice. Just in 2 hours, it was enough to get the infection. Yeah.
So have you got your own school in Malaga? Yeah, or are you teaching for someone?
No. I train at Lilius Barnat. Santeri Lilius. He's a heavy guy. He's like 95 kilos, 95
Right.
kilos, and he has a very, very good gym here in Malaga.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have people from all over Europe coming here for camps, like Mateusz Cieszynski and
Yeah.
those guys, the Polish guys. They are coming here regularly, and
Okay.
it's an amazing place to live in southern Costa del Sol because it's basically summer 10 months a year,
Yeah.
and great training and cheap prices, and yeah, we love it here.
Yeah. Good. So just tell the viewers where people can find you on social media, mate, on your Instagram and everything for your yoga BJJ.
Yeah, I think I'm winning the Google and the YouTube battle, so you just have to search for Yoga for BJJ anywhere. And something I want to put out there, a little bit plug for my own stuff. Um, Signing up to Yoga for BJJ and doing things on your own, you have like a 50-50% with success. Because maybe you make it, maybe you don't. What people find the hardest is not the yoga, but finding the discipline to put in 10 minutes a day or 50 minutes a day regularly. It's hard for a lot of people to put in something into their busy schedule, even if it gives them more time on the mat or all the benefits that they have. Even 10 minutes a day is hard for people. What I did was I created these teacher trainings, this Yoga for BJJ teacher trainings, instructors courses, and that seems to, it's more expensive, of course, and it takes more commitment up front. But when you do it, you kind of dispel all these myths and preconceived conceptions that you have, and you kind of get an instant blue belt. Like you can get a yoga blue belt in 4 weeks when you do the course. So I had like over 400 people do it, and people have enormous success with it, both for their own practice and also, you know, it's natural when you start getting results with yourself that people ask you and you want to start teaching at your gym. So what I'm doing now is basically all gym owners, if any gym owners listening to this, please reach out, because I will give you most of the stuff that I have for free, because gym owners are so important in order to change this. My goal is to change every jiu-jitsu gym in the world, that people never run in circles and do jumping jacks again, but they do yoga for BJJ. And so gym owners are my key, and I take really good care of gym owners that reach out to me. I also have something called Academy membership. So the gym basically pays 89 euros a month, and everybody in the gym gets access. So that's something I'm pushing really hard now, because I really want everybody to try at least, you know, 2 weeks of yoga for BJJ, 10 minutes a day, just to see what it can do for them. That's really what I want to do.
Okay, mate. So we'll help push that on social media for you as well.
Thank you.
Dave, any last words for Sebastian, mate?
Just to say it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Sebastian. Good luck with all of your ventures, and look forward to seeing you at some point in the future.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for coming on, Sebastian, and hopefully I will see you on the 18th of June, mate, at Andy Roberts BJJ.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Okay.
See you in the next one.
Thanks for your time, mate. Good night.
Cheers.
There's a brand new podcast on the scene, talking all things martial arts. If you've never seen a podcast, it's a brilliant place to start. So like, subscribe, or download to the best thing on the net. Yes, he really is that tiny. Please do not adjust your set. You can watch it on your telly, you can listen on the go. Tell all your friends and family, tell everyone you know. Feel free to leave a comment, tune in, give us a share. The only host that I know gets his keys from Build-A-Bear. The Gavin Davis Podcast. The Gavin Davis Podcast. Jump on board, we'll have a real blast on the Gavin Davis Podcast. A captivating podcast streaming straight into your house. He's a little pocket rocket, he's the Welshman's mighty mouse. Great guests and conversations that won't bore you to tears. Thank God he's wearing headphones to hide those grapplers' ears.